Have you ever found yourself wondering how to maintain peace and joy in your old age, especially within a family filled with complex relationships? As we age, we face the inevitable decline in health and energy, but we also encounter crucial decisions about how to navigate our relationships with loved ones, particularly our children. In this video, we'll explore how some elderly individuals make the mistake of revealing too much to their children, only to face regret later. By sharing the story of Mrs. Luong, who had substantial savings and a dream-worthy pension but made decisions that led to painful consequences, you'll learn valuable lessons on the importance of wisdom, boundaries, and careful communication in your later years. Stick with us until the end to discover the crucial things that elderly people should avoid saying to their children to ensure a peaceful and fulfilling old age, free from unnecessary worries and conflicts. Don't miss out on this eye-opening story that could change the way you view aging and family dynamics forever. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know, so I can make a better video for you. Now let's get started. Let me share with you the story of Mrs. Luong, a woman who, on the surface, seemed to have it all: a comfortable pension, substantial savings, and the freedom to live life on her terms. However, her story is one of misjudgment and regret, the consequences of which led to painful situations she never anticipated. My name is Luong, and I am 66 years old. I was born and raised in a poor, rural area where life was difficult and opportunities scarce. My mother, always hoping to change the course of our family's future, sought a matchmaker with the hope of securing a marriage for me to someone from the city, believing that such a union could lift me out of poverty. It wasn't long before I was introduced to a man from a decent family. His parents were factory workers, and he was 4 years older than me. At the time, he had a steady job, and our families were thrilled about the match. The idea that I, a simple girl from the countryside, would be marrying into a family with a more stable lifestyle filled everyone with joy. Yet, I couldn't help but wonder what had drawn him to me. I was just an ordinary village girl, and I wondered why someone from the city would choose me as his wife. After our marriage, I quickly learned the reasons behind his choice. My husband had been previously married to a woman from the city, and their marriage lasted for 2 years but was childless. His ex-wife was lazy and unwilling to contribute to the household, often refusing to do chores, which led to growing tension with his mother. Eventually, they couldn't take it anymore, and the marriage ended in divorce. He was introduced to a few other women, but none of them were a good fit. Finally, his family decided that a diligent and gentle daughter-in-law from the countryside would be a suitable choice. At first, learning this made me feel heartbroken. It seemed like I was chosen not for love, but simply because I was willing to be the dutiful, hard-working wife that his family desired. But, as time passed, I discovered that my husband's family was genuinely kind-hearted. Even though my mother-in-law could be strict at times, she was never unkind to me and always cared for my well-being. Soon after our marriage, I became pregnant and gave birth to a son, which greatly improved my position within the family. My husband and his parents were overjoyed, and they showered me with love and attention. A couple of years later, I gave birth to a beautiful daughter. Unlike many families that preferred sons, I was truly happy with my family. My mother-in-law, who had initially been quite strict, began to trust me more, slowly handing over the responsibility of managing the household. My husband, ever supportive, shared the duties of raising the children and taking care of our home. Life was peaceful, and we made a comfortable living. When my parents retired, they arranged for me to work in the local community office, and my monthly income provided us with a stable life. I was deeply grateful to my in-laws for their support and did everything I could to take care of them as they grew older. After my parents-in-law passed away, life continued to be harmonious. Even as I grew older, my husband remained loving and attentive. We were happy together, and each day seemed like a gift. However, everything changed when my husband became seriously ill. Despite our best efforts, he passed away. Before he died, he asked me to carefully protect the 2.8 billion VND we had saved together, keeping it a secret from the children so they would be motivated to work hard. This money, he explained, was the fruit of our joint labor, and he wanted it to be there for us in our later years. After his death, I retired and began to receive a monthly pension of 10.5 million VND. My children grew up, married, and started their own families. I found myself living alone, enjoying the independence that I had longed for. I spent my time shopping, meeting friends, and even traveling alone whenever the mood struck me. People would often comment on how independent and carefree I seemed, and some even envied my freedom. Yet, not everyone was supportive. Some criticized me for spending money on travel, saying I was being wasteful with my savings. My children suggested I spend less time traveling and consider moving in with them to help with household chores, cooking, and taking care of their children. To put their minds at ease, I shared my savings and pension with them, assuring them I was financially secure. Little did I know that this decision would turn out to be the greatest regret of my life. In hindsight, I realized that my desire for independence, which seemed so fulfilling at the time, isolated me from the very people who cared for me most. I ignored the importance of family and the simple joys of spending time together. The choices I made, choosing to live alone, keeping my savings to myself, and distancing myself from my children, led to a deep sense of loneliness. The regret of not having shared more of my life with my loved ones, of not having been there for them in the way I should have, weighs heavily on my heart now. My story is a reminder that no amount of money, no matter how substantial, can replace the love and connection of family. It's a reminder to cherish those relationships while we still can. When my children first discovered the extent of my savings, they were both excited and impressed. They praised me for being so prudent and disciplined with money, calling me clever for managing to save such a substantial amount. At the time, I didn't think much of their reactions. I was glad they admired my financial habits but didn't anticipate the deeper consequences that would soon unfold. However, not long after, a series of events began to unfold that would forever change my perception of family and money. One day, my son came to me with a request. He wanted to buy a new, larger house and asked if I could lend Jaime a deposit of 1 billion VND, saying it would improve the lives of his children and give them a better future. At first, I was hesitant, but I agreed, hoping it would truly benefit him and his family. Not long after, my daughter came to me with a similar request. She wanted 350 million VND to purchase a new car, believing it would help her live a more comfortable life. Again, I was willing to help, believing that by supporting them, I was contributing to their happiness and success. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. At first, everything seemed fine. They were attentive and loving, and took care of me in every little way, showering me with affection and making sure I was comfortable. Their attention was a source of great joy and comfort for me, and I felt truly appreciated. However, as the weeks went by and they received the financial help they requested, their behavior began to change. Their once warm and caring demeanor turned into a sense of entitlement, and they began to ask for more and more. The more they took from me, the more they demanded, as if my savings were an endless supply they had a right to tap into. I had been happy to provide for them out of love and a desire to see them thrive, but their insatiable greed started to drain me, not just financially, but emotionally as well. Soon, I realized that my savings, which I had spent years carefully accumulating, were quickly being depleted. It was a harsh wake-up call, one that made me realize that my children no longer viewed me as someone to care for, but as a resource to exploit. When they learned that I had nearly exhausted my savings, their affection vanished. They became cold and distant, and I could no longer count on the constant support and attention they had once lavished on me. Not long after, I fell ill and needed surgery, which wiped out the remaining funds I had set aside for my future. I began to feel the weight of old age pressing down on me, and for the first time, I confronted the reality that I would likely need to rely on my children for care and support in my later years. When I told them that I wanted to live with them, hoping for some emotional connection and comfort, they both refused. They offered me excuses, claiming they were too busy or didn't have enough space. I was furious and heartbroken at their lack of empathy, and I began to feel utterly helpless. In my anger and frustration, I told them that I would hire a caregiver instead, as I no longer expected their care. To my surprise, they reacted even more coldly. They told me they couldn't afford to pay for a caregiver or even cover my basic living expenses. Instead, they suggested I go to a nursing home, where the costs would be low enough to be covered by my pension. My son even mentioned a remote nursing home, where the fees were minimal, and they wouldn't have to provide much financial support. It was then that I felt the full weight of their indifference. They saw me not as a parent in need, but as a burden they were eager to offload. I was deeply hurt by their attitude and firmly refused to go to a nursing home. I knew too well that such places were full of problems, and the conditions were far from ideal. I refused to spend my final years in such a place, surrounded by strangers and isolated from the family I had loved and cared for all my life. Their lack of compassion left me feeling abandoned and betrayed, and I realized that in my old age, I could not afford to rely on my children. As I reflected on everything that had happened, I understood the painful truth that I should have never shared the extent of my savings with my children. My husband had always cautioned me about being too open with family about personal finances, and now, I deeply regretted not heeding his advice. Family relationships, I realized, require wisdom, especially when it comes to matters of money. In hindsight, I should have been more careful about what I shared and who I trusted with such sensitive information. In family life, harmony and understanding are built on careful consideration of both words and actions. It's important to think before speaking and to be cautious about what you give away, especially when it comes to your hard-earned savings. As a parent, it is natural to want to provide for your children and ensure their well-being, but sometimes, doing too much for them can have negative consequences. When you reveal too much about your financial situation, you risk changing their mindset, making them dependent on you, and losing the drive to work hard for their future. This dependence can erode their sense of responsibility and personal growth, which can be detrimental to their development as responsible adults. I have learned the hard way that it's best to keep financial matters private, especially when it comes to sharing details about your savings and plans for the future. Your savings are meant to secure your future, and taking care of yourself is the most reliable way to ensure a comfortable and independent old age. Even though you love your children and want to help them when they are in need, there's no need to disclose every detail about your financial situation. If they are truly in need, you can still help, but without revealing your entire financial picture. This way, you maintain your independence and avoid unnecessary conflict within the family. Keep your plans to yourself and avoid disclosing how you intend to divide your assets in the future. It's better to make decisions based on your own needs, without creating unrealistic expectations or encouraging dependency. By keeping certain things private and making decisions carefully, you can avoid family conflicts and preserve the warmth and love in your relationships. Family is about more than just money, and the true bonds we share are built on mutual respect and understanding. When money becomes the focus, it can overshadow everything else, turning what should be a loving relationship into something transactional. In the end, the most important thing is to take care of yourself, remain financially independent, and never let money become the driving force behind your family dynamics. Wise elders typically refrain from discussing financial matters frequently, recognizing that such topics can lead to tension or misunderstanding within the family. Older individuals must ensure their financial security so they can enjoy their later years with comfort and peace of mind, without having to depend on their children for support. The ability to manage one's wealth is both a gift and a challenge, and understanding this complexity is vital for parents. If parents fail to acknowledge the potential negative consequences of wealth, they may unintentionally make decisions that could have a long-lasting negative impact on their children's lives. Rather than simply amassing wealth and leaving it to their children, parents should focus on teaching them how to be responsible, self-sufficient, and capable of handling life's challenges. Many stories exist about well-meaning parents who give their children wealth too early in life. This often leads to unintended consequences, such as children losing their motivation to work hard, be active, and understand the importance of effort. When everything is handed to them without any challenge, these children may fail to appreciate the true value of what they've inherited. Worse still, they may squander it, as they fail to understand the effort that went into acquiring that wealth. Furthermore, they may neglect to care for their aging parents, which can create a painful emotional divide. Ultimately, what parents hold in their hands, a potential source of blessing, can become a burden, a bad card, if they give away their wealth too quickly or without proper thought. In many families, conflicts arise over the distribution of family assets. Siblings and relatives often argue over who should receive what, as everyone wants their fair share and dislikes any sense of perceived injustice. However, truly wise elders understand the importance of discretion and keep their plans for dividing their assets a secret until the appropriate time. They avoid unnecessary discussions about finances, knowing that premature revelations can cause tension. In the TV drama Jia Din Na Nam, for example, the family falls into chaos over the ownership of an old house. This issue is particularly contentious in stepfamilies, where the dynamics surrounding the distribution of assets can easily lead to tension and resentment. In the show, the father, Nam Kien Long, favors his biological child, which causes significant friction with his wife and her children. However, if he had favored his wife's children, his biological daughter would have felt slighted. As you age, it becomes increasingly important to choose your words carefully, especially regarding sensitive matters within the family. Some issues are better left unspoken, as the more you reveal, the more potential there is for harm. Elders who understand this wisdom know that sometimes keeping certain things, such as financial matters, private, is the best way to avoid unnecessary conflict and preserve family harmony. This is especially true when relationships within the family are complicated, such as in blended families or families with complicated dynamics. It's important to wait for the right moment to reveal plans and intentions regarding asset distribution, as premature disclosures can create needless tension. Wise parents understand that waiting to clarify matters at the right time is a loving choice, one that ensures their children have the chance to learn independence and responsibility rather than depending on the inheritance. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. In families with multiple children, parents often face challenges in ensuring fairness in the distribution of resources, both financial and emotional. Every child, being a unique individual, can feel hurt if they perceive that they've been treated unfairly. Over the years, parents may inadvertently make decisions that lead to feelings of favoritism or inequity. However, the key to maintaining harmony within a family is to focus on the future, rather than dwelling on past grievances. Children should learn to let go of old resentments, and parents should avoid bringing them up. By doing so, families can preserve peace and understanding. For example, in the drama and CU, there is a poignant moment when Feng asks his grandmother why she left the family house to the eldest child, even though the second and third children also had a strong connection to the home. The grandmother's explanation is simple yet powerful. She only had one house, and she had to prioritize the child facing the most difficult circumstances. While the second and third children were not wealthy, they were self-sufficient. This decision upset the younger siblings, but over time, the issue was never revisited. The family chose not to dwell on the injustice, and this deliberate avoidance allowed the family to stay peaceful. In some cases, it's not the injustice itself that causes the most pain, but the constant reminder of it. Rather than allowing harsh words to create divisions, it's often better for parents and children to practice patience, empathy, and focus on the future. Silence, tact, and careful communication are often the most effective tools for maintaining family peace. Parents, no matter how old their children become, often continue to worry about them. In the eyes of parents, their children are forever their babies, deserving of care, attention, and protection. This worry often manifests in well-intentioned but sometimes hurtful remarks, especially when children are faced with tough decisions or take a different path than their parents might have hoped. Parents, driven by concern, can sometimes say things that distance their children emotionally. As parents age, it becomes even more important for them to learn how to support their children without judgment. In the drama Nan the John, the Chow family has 3 children. The 2 eldest are successful and make their parents proud, while the youngest struggles both academically and in life. Despite the youngest child's efforts to care for the parents at home, the father feels disappointed and frequently compares the youngest child to the older, more successful siblings. These comparisons lead to frequent criticism, which alienates the child, and the family's bond weakens. Over time, they lose contact. Children, even those who are outwardly successful, need their parents' support and recognition. If parents fail to offer that support, children can feel lost, unloved, and disconnected. The hurt caused by such criticism can run deep, and its impact may not be immediately apparent. Parents should learn to encourage, not criticize, and to show unconditional love and understanding to their children, regardless of their achievements. Elders play an incredibly important role in holding families together. They are the bridge that connects generations, maintaining the family bond and ensuring its legacy. As you age, it's important to remember the weight of this responsibility and the role you play within the family. Not everything needs to be openly discussed or shared with your children, especially sensitive matters like finances or family history. Sometimes, silence and careful consideration are the wisest choices. This doesn't mean being stubborn or withholding affection, but rather it reflects a deep understanding of what it means to love your family. Thoughtful communication, choosing your words wisely and knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, is often the key to keeping the family united and preserving its peace. It is through this careful balance that elders demonstrate the most profound love and wisdom, ensuring that the family bond remains strong for generations to come. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video and for joining us on this journey of reflection and growth. As we wrap up, take a moment to think about what you've learned today. What stands out to you? What is one thing you've learned that you plan to bring into practice in your life? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please share in the comments below. If you like this video, don't forget to leave your comment, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiring content. Together, let's continue to grow, learn, and encourage each other along the way.